Good afternoon. It's the 28th of May and it's a special weekend for me because after 4.5 years of work I am releasing my first single off my album, Backwater. It will be ready, all being well, on Sunday, and you'll be able to find a link to it below. The album itself I'm making available on the summer solstice in another couple of weeks' time. So a bit about the context. So 26 years ago at this time of year, I walked from my house with my possessions in a rucksack and took a train to Buxton in the hills. My intention was not to come back, to learn a way of living beyond the grind of a life unexamined in the city. Backwater's a story about what led to this moment and what happened after. It's about a childhood in the clipped edges of aspirational suburbia. It's about initiations and awakenings. It's about finding communion. And it's about realizations in the cold light of dawn, literally and metaphorically. Secondly, it's about the honey traps that cults set to recruit followers, for that was going to be my fate in the hills. It's about a frightened young person seeking the solitude, joy, affirmation it was missing from much of his formative experience. And it's about abuse, retreat and isolation. And gradually, it's about stepping into one's unique understanding and carving a way out of an environment preordained and yet unlivable. So it's partly biographical and partly fantasy. And it's a means for exploring some things that I've been very interested in, both in my working life and in my creative wanderings when I'm not in that role. It is in the tradition of electronic music for the last 30 years, influenced by techno, hip hop and ambient particularly. And it's in the spirit of DIY sample-based approach. Narrative is created through those samples largely, a bit from me, occasionally from my wife Em, but from a lot of other sources as well, voices from my childhood that we captured at the time and have been able to use. But a key narrator throughout it is the wonderful Susan Dermody, and they are takings from a film called Breathing Underwater, which was really influential to all of us when we were young, and remains quite inspirational to me to this day. So Mirror of Starlight, the single, is a dance mix with a lot of melody woven into it, but with as a 4/4 structure. And it's echoed by its original version on the album, which is far more ambient, and takes place in a kind of dream sequence out in the countryside at night, post-club. So yeah, the rest of the album will be available from the solstice on June the 21st. And I may do another address about that as I come to the point of releasing it. But yeah, please follow the link below to the Bandcamp site where you can buy the single for a snip. The album will also be released cheaper than normal retail cost because it's been produced at home and I don't have access to studio quality engineering. And I'd love to hear what you think of it. It's been a long old slog here in this little room in South Bristol. Yeah, do enjoy.